All right, hey, Shalom Akim. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and there's no God beside him. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Rakah Kodash, to the Holy Spirit, and Shalom to the elect. And I want to entitle this lesson, and it shall turn to you for a testimony. Right? And this is predominantly centered around the story of our forefather Joseph, which his Hebrew name would be Yahweh, and the situation he went through concerning the false accusation of Pharaoh's wife, right? In which case it put him in prison. Nevertheless, after 2 years, all right, after a period of time, the Lord exalted him. So this is Genesis chapter 39, right? Now, in this story, right, in this chapter, which, let me read it, because I have, in my Bible, this Bible that I have, it gives a synopsis of the situation that went down with Pharaoh's wife. So it says, Joseph advanced in Potiphar's house. He resisteth his mistress's temptation. He is falsely accused. He is cast in prison. God is with him there. Right? Now, this is I'm so tempted to read this whole chapter. But Joseph being a man of God in a strange land, had integrity. So he said within himself that, I'm not going to lay with my master's wife, because he gave me so much. Nevertheless, in this story, on this account, was it Potiphar, Pharaoh's wife, was so eager to lay with him. So much so that she got aggressive and he left his, it don't say that she got aggressive, but when you read the story, it only makes sense, as the apostles teach us to read in context, right? So it only makes sense why she would grab his garment. Because after a while, him refusing her, she was getting grieved, She was grieved and she got aggressive and she latched onto him, grabbing his garment, so much so that he left it behind and he got out of there, escaping what is written in our law as adultery, to lay with another man's wife. Right? So at this point, Potiphar is pleading her case, essentially lying to Pharaoh. So it says, Genesis 39:17, she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. Right? So, she didn't just say it in a monotone voice. She said it in a way that would stir up anger, like, look what he did to me, husband. Look at what he did to me, Lord. All right? Probably scratch. Who knows? Probably scratched herself up. All right? She had to make it super believable. She even, when you read the story, she actually also told Joseph's guards. Right? Which also makes me think, again, as you read the story, because he probably ran past the guards. And it was kind of like weird. So she came out and told the guards what happened. And So that was basically her witness. But the Lord was with Joseph. I'm sorry, I'll skip verse 20. Let me start back at 19, actually. Bro, relax, bro. Just lock it. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant unto me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in prison. But Yahweh was with Joseph, and shewed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because Yahweh was with him, and that what he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Right? However, and to the carnal eye, to Pharaoh, he wasn't shit at that point in time. He was an adulterer. He was a liar. You could just imagine how Pharaoh felt. I gave this man everything, and this is what he does to me. And you liken it until today. All right, we're going to be looked at as enemies of the states in the eyes of the ruler, this devil. Right? But nevertheless, the Lord was with him. All right? In jail, whether, like scripture says, some of us shall be cast into prison, the Lord is going to be with us. Right? To where that keeper of the prison today will be known as the correction officer, the CO. All right? He may take a liking to us, He may actually be a believer. Or he may actually be slated to be a believer, like in the time of Acts, the 16th chapter. Right? So we don't know what the Lord has for us. Nevertheless, in the process of time, it's going to show. Right? So now we're going to jump over to Genesis 41, right? So it says, mind you, in Genesis 39, he was in prison, right? And now we're going to jump over to Genesis 41. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. So here it is. All this is happening on the outside. You watch those movies where they kind of fast forward. And you just have music playing in the background, and it shows the life of the innocent versus the life of the guilty. Or in this case, it would be the life of Joseph versus the life of Potiphar and Pharaoh. They just continue life as normal. And this went on for 2 years, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kin and fat flesh, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kin came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean flesh, and stood by the river upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean flesh kin did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kin. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed the second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, and all the wise men thereof, and Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Right? So as you see, when we read the story, it shows you how dramatic the Lord is. How the Lord waited 2 years, to essentially put on a spirit for Pharaoh to get him out of prison. Right? And then let me keep going, because it gets a little bit more juicier. Right now it says, then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me inward and the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief butler. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he, and we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was, me he restored into my office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. Right? So the Lord, as you read through the story, all right, the Lord allowed Joseph to interpret the butler's dream as well as the baker's dream, which the butler he saved alive, but the baker he saved alive, but the butler he killed. Right? Okay, it's the butler he saved alive, but the baker he killed. So, me personally, as I was reading the story, I was trying to figure out why would he kill one and save the other, Nevertheless, as we see, you continue to read throughout the account, it's pretty much for the uplifting of the Lord's servant, right? So that he could remember the dream, the interpreter of dreams, Joseph, and so that he can be a witness to Pharaoh of these acts. So therefore he would get him out of prison, right? And mind you, he went from, in Genesis 39th chapter, to being a scumbag, an adulterer, a piece of shit in the eyes of Pharaoh. So as we jump now, I want to jump to Genesis 41 and 32, right? So this is after, Pharaoh told Joseph the dream. Joseph interprets it, right? And mind you, Pharaoh being an Egyptian had faith in his own magistrates, which couldn't interpret the dream. And this is something that he really, really, really wanted to know. Like, it troubled him, right? So here it is, Joseph, a forgotten about individual, all right, in a dungeon, put in a dungeon like a dog, right? Here it is, now you need his help, right? So it says, and for that the dream was double unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing established by God, and it is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the fifth part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities, and that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not throughout the famine. So this is wise counsel. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God hath shewed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house. Mind you, this is Pharaoh's own words now, right? This is him coming to his senses. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I'll read it back at verse 39 again. For as much as God has shewed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in the vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, bowed the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. Right? So the point being is, no matter how long it takes, the Lord will vindicate us. No matter how bad it gets, eventually the Lord will vindicate us. Let's go over to Luke 21 and verse 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you, persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues, and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sakes. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Right? And when you go into the word testimony, it says a formal written or spoken statement, especially one given in a court of law. All right? And as you see down, it says evidence or proof of something. And these stories, as we read, is evidence who the Lord is truly dealing with. All right? Because in Wisdom of Solomon 2, it speaks about, well, we'll grab it. Let me finish this. Settle it therefore. You know what? Let me hold that. I'm going to hold that. And we're going to get Wisdom of Solomon 2. And 17. Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of God, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. You see, in the Most High's playbook is the scriptures, and every time in the scriptures, the Lord, whomever he would send it through, would always create a scenario where his men would be glorified, and ultimately him, because his men were known as servants of Yahweh while Yahweh Shah. His men were known as Hebrews, as Hebrews. We already know the God of Hebrew, the God of Israel, is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. So it says, let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness have blinded them. As for the mysteries of God, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. Right? But the Lord shows us in the scriptures that there's always a reward for blameless souls. So as we read back at Luke 21 and 13, and it shall be to you for a testimony, all right, and evidence who the Lord is dealing with. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries should not be able to gainsay nor resist. Hey, I truly believe that in these last days, when the men of the Lord is amongst these devils, which in those days, you'll most likely be seeing the elites. All right. And if not them, somebody high up on the food chain. Right. Because again, the Lord is about his show of power at that point. Whereas some brothers will get spiritual powers. Some brothers will have, a mouth, as the scriptures say, right? Well, it's all spiritual powers, really. Whether it be to physically, cut a dude in half with your eyes, or, to tell them off so badly, that their mouth is like left open. Like, how the fuck you know this? But it says, which all your adversaries should not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents. And that's heavy, because Esau, this devil was a slick, he got a slick tongue, man. So for you in that day to say something that's going to shut him up, that's saying a lot. And mind you, in these last days, we're coming to the height of this devil's power, right? So he's pompous, he's proud, he's, his head is in the skies, right? But it says, and ye shall be betrayed. Okay, that was pretty much it. Well, no, let's keep going. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents, brethren, kinsfolk, friends. Some of you shall be caused to be put to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sakes. But there should not an hair on your head perish. Right? In which, the ruler of the people is going to be headhunting. And we know this, as the scriptures say in Sirach 10, as the ruler is, so is the people. So they're going to see us as this devil does, as an enemy of, his new utopia. Right? Nevertheless, getting to the point, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sakes, but there shall not an hair on your head perish. Where it says, and your patience possess ye your souls. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 2, in verse 3. Let me start at the top. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure. Knowing that in these last days is going to be a hell of an endurance. We're going to have a hell of an endurance. You got to prepare to be in jail for 2 years. Be starved out, for 5-6 days. Brother, then fasted for 5-6 days, no food, no water. And make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him, and imagine 2 years. It's like, man, I might as well just get comfortable. Hey, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua came through. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Look up the word increased. It says to become or make greater in size, amount, or degree. Get bigger. All right. So again, Joseph went from being in a dungeon, right, to being on the right hand side. All right. Mind you, he was in Hebrew. He was a Hebrew, servant in the house of a bunch of Egyptians. Right. And it was well known that, his God wasn't no damn, one of their gods, but yet he was still put in that pedigree because he held fast to Yahweh Shai. And also we can't forget, as we read that story, the account, I'd rather say account because it's not fake, it's real. That the Lord was showing signs within himself in 2 years as well. All right. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 73. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, which through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, we are in 2024. where this is a hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. But I will deliver you from the same. And may Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai keep that, you know what I'm saying, these words within our hearts. Right? May Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai keep these words in our hearts, man. And keep our eyes glued on salvation. Right? Hey, Psalms 46 tells us that the Lord is a very present help in time of trouble. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, it says, to the chief musician for the sons of Korah, a song upon Alamoth. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will we not fear, though the earth be removed and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Right? So if that, shalom to the elect.